Most people think social class is about access, better clothes, better brands, better taste. But perception doesn't work that way. What we read as high class is usually restraint, a series of tiny choices that quietly signal self-trust before a single word is spoken. I noticed this recently while sitting in a cafe during a quiet afternoon. Two women walked in within minutes of each other. Their outfits were similar, neutral colors, simple silhouettes, nothing extravagant, yet one immediately felt more composed, more settled. People glanced at her, not because she demanded attention, but because she didn't. What separated them wasn't beauty, age, or money. It was something subtler, a series of tiny styling choices that signaled ease, awareness, and self-trust. Social class, at least in how it's perceived, is often decided before a conversation even begins, not through effort, but through restraint, not through perfection, but through coherence. And the interesting part is this: these signals are small enough to overlook, yet powerful enough to quietly shape how you're treated. And to understand why that happens, we need to reset what social class actually means. When people hear the phrase social class, it often triggers defensiveness, as if we're talking about wealth, elitism, or exclusion. But in everyday social perception, class has very little to do with income. It's a psychological shorthand. Humans are constantly scanning for signals of stability, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. We associate those traits, often unconsciously, with higher social standing, not because they're morally superior, but because they feel predictable, calm, and safe. This is why overcompensation often lowers perceived class. Too many logos, too much contrast, too much effort to be seen. These choices don't suggest confidence, they suggest uncertainty. High perceived class is rarely loud. It doesn't rush, it doesn't stack signals on top of each other, it edits. This applies to all ages, body types, and lifestyles. A woman running errands, going to work, or meeting a friend for coffee can project quiet authority without owning anything expensive. And someone with access to luxury can still signal insecurity through excess. The difference isn't discipline, it's awareness. Once you understand that class is read through how much you trust yourself, styling becomes less about copying rules and more about reducing visual noise. And one of the first places this noise appears is in the fabric itself. Number 1, fabric tension. Stiff versus fluid. Fabric is one of the earliest things people register, often without realizing it. Before color, before cut, before trend, the body responds to how clothing moves. Stiff, overly rigid fabrics tend to signal resistance. They pull, crease sharply, or sit awkwardly against the body. Even when the outfit is technically nice, this tension subtly communicates discomfort, as if the clothing is fighting the wearer. Fluid fabrics, on the other hand, cooperate. They drape, soften movement, and respond naturally when you walk, sit, or turn. This visual ease translates directly into perceived ease. You can demonstrate this with the same outfit worn two ways: a structured top in stiff synthetic fabric versus one in a softer weave. Notice how posture changes. Shoulders relax, gestures slow down, presence becomes quieter but stronger. This isn't about avoiding structure altogether, it's about balance. Even tailored pieces look more refined when there's some forgiveness in the fabric. Across different body types, fluidity does different work. On curvier figures, it softens without hiding. On straighter frames, it adds dimension without bulk. Elegance adapts, it doesn't force. When fabric stops resisting you, you stop adjusting yourself constantly. And that absence of self-correction reads as confidence. Once fabric stops creating tension, the next signal people notice is whether the clothing actually belongs to your body. Poor fit is rarely dramatic, which is exactly why it's so revealing. Sleeves slightly too long, waistlines ignored, shoulders drooping just enough to look borrowed. These details quietly suggest that the wearer hasn't fully claimed the outfit, and perception follows intention. Clothes that fit well signal self-knowledge. They imply that someone knows their proportions, understands their comfort, and values alignment over trend. Clothes that don't, even expensive ones, suggest either rush or detachment. There's an important distinction here. Too tight clothing often reads as seeking validation. Too loose clothing can read as avoidance. Neither is wrong, but both communicate uncertainty rather than authority. A simple demonstration makes this clear. The same trousers before and after tailoring. Nothing else changes, but suddenly the outfit feels grounded. The body looks more at ease inside it. Fit is deeply personal. What refinement looks like on one body will look different on another. Softer tailoring often creates elegance on curvier frames, while cleaner lines may suit others better. The goal is never correction, it's harmony. When clothing fits, you stop fidgeting, you stop pulling, smoothing, adjusting, and that stillness, that lack of apology, is one of the clearest markers of perceived class. And interestingly, the eye often drops next to a detail many people underestimate entirely: shoe condition, not style. Shoes carry a surprising amount of social information. Long before someone notices your outfit as a whole, the eye often drops, briefly, instinctively, to what's grounding you. And it's rarely about the style of the shoe. Well-maintained shoes suggest foresight. They imply that the wearer thinks beyond the immediate moment, that she plans, preserves, and pays attention to longevity. Scuffed, worn down, or collapsing shoes, even when fashionable, tend to signal neglect or overextension. You can see this clearly when the same outfit is paired with two different pairs of shoes, one slightly worn at the heel, edges softened by time, the other simple, clean, and intact. The outfit itself doesn't change, but the perceived discipline does. This doesn't mean shoes need to be expensive or new. It means they need to be intentional. A modest pair of flats in good condition often reads as more refined than a trendy pair that's already breaking down. There's also something grounding about practicality done well. Shoes that allow you to walk comfortably, stand patiently, and move without strain communicate self-respect, not indulgence. Across lifestyles, this looks different. A woman walking to work, running errands, or caring for children doesn't need delicate footwear. She needs coherence between her life and her choices. Because class isn't read through fantasy, it's read through care. And once the foundation of an outfit feels considered, the eye begins to travel upward, noticing how colors relate to one another. Color transitions, not color itself. Color is often discussed in extremes, bold versus neutral, bright versus muted. But what actually influences perception is not the color itself. It's how abruptly the eye is forced to move. Harsh color breaks create visual noise. When the eye jumps sharply from dark to light or from saturated to dull, the outfit feels fragmented. Even beautiful colors can feel restless when they don't speak to each other. Smooth color transitions, on the other hand, signal intention. They allow the eye to move slowly, calmly, without interruption. This visual calm is closely associated with confidence and self-assurance. You can demonstrate this with a simple comparison. An outfit where shoes, bag, and clothing all land in unrelated tones versus the same pieces adjusted slightly. Perhaps the shoes echo the depth of the top, or the bag sits somewhere between. Nothing matches exactly, yet everything feels connected. This approach works across all palettes. Neutrals benefit from tonal variation, bright colors benefit from anchoring, and monochrome outfits gain sophistication when texture does the work instead of contrast. What matters is continuity. When color choices feel deliberate, the wearer appears less reactive to trends and more grounded in personal rhythm. And once color stops competing for attention, the remaining details, especially accessories, become more noticeable. Number 5. Jewelry, scale, and sound. Accessories are often where intention is either reinforced or undone. Oversized, noisy, or overly intricate jewelry tends to interrupt presence. It pulls attention away from the person and toward the object itself. This doesn't make someone look bold, it makes them look as though they're asking to be noticed. Refined jewelry behaves differently. It stays close to the body, it moves quietly, it complements rather than announces. A simple demonstration makes this obvious. The same outfit worn once with large, clinking earrings and stacked bracelets, and once with smaller pieces that echo the neckline or wrist naturally. The second version doesn't disappear, it settles. Scale matters more than cost. Delicate pieces on broader frames can look tentative, while slightly more substantial designs may feel balanced. On smaller frames, restraint often reads as confidence. Elegance adjusts. It listens. There's also something important about sound. Jewelry that clicks, clanks, or constantly shifts draws attention to movement rather than presence. Quiet details allow a woman to enter a room without disrupting it. And that's the difference. High perceived class isn't about being seen, it's about being felt. And once accessories stop interrupting, what remains is the overall harmony, or lack of it, in grooming and completion. Number 6, grooming consistency. Grooming is rarely about how polished something is on its own. It's about whether everything speaks the same language. Inconsistency is what the eye notices first. Carefully styled hair paired with neglected shoes, a refined outfit with chipped nails, a thoughtful silhouette undermined by rushed grooming. None of these are dramatic mistakes, but together they create cognitive dissonance. The brain reads that mismatch as distraction. High perceived class isn't about flawlessness, it's about balance. When grooming choices feel aligned, the person appears settled inside herself. When one area is overemphasized and another ignored, it can suggest compensation rather than confidence. You can show this clearly through contrast. A simple, everyday outfit paired once with uneven grooming and once with small, cohesive adjustments. Nothing elevated, just consistent. The difference is subtle, but the impression changes immediately. This looks different for every lifestyle. A woman with a demanding schedule doesn't need elaborate routines, she needs repeatable ones. Clean hair, comfortable, cared-for skin, a baseline that feels intentional rather than accidental. Elegance adapts to reality. It doesn't demand more time, just fewer contradictions. When grooming feels coherent, people stop noticing individual details. They start noticing the person as a whole. And once that harmony is established, the final signal becomes clear, whether the outfit feels complete. Number 7, outfit completion, the finished effect. Many outfits aren't bad, they're simply unfinished. You see this most often in everyday settings. Clothes that almost work, pieces that make sense individually but haven't been brought together with intention. Something feels transitional, as if the wearer might still be getting ready. Completion is what transforms clothing into presence. A finished outfit doesn't mean overdressed, it means considered. There's a sense that the wearer paused, even briefly, to decide how she wanted to arrive. This can be demonstrated easily. An outfit without its final layer, structure, or grounding accessory, and then the same outfit with one small addition, a jacket that frames the body, a bag that adds weight, a belt that anchors proportions. Nothing dramatic changes, but the posture does. Movement slows. The wearer looks settled. High perceived class is strongly associated with readiness, not urgency, not effort, just quiet authority. The feeling that someone is where she intends to be. This matters especially when dressing in a rush. Completion doesn't require more pieces, it requires editing, knowing when to stop and when to finish, because unfinished styling reads as hesitation. And when hesitation disappears, what remains is something far more powerful than appearance. What all of these choices have in common is not trend, cost, or difficulty. It's self-trust. Perceived social class is not something you acquire by doing more. It emerges when you stop performing, when your choices feel aligned rather than compensatory. None of these details exist to restrict you. They exist to remove friction, to allow you to move through ordinary life, work days, errands, conversations, with less self-correction and more ease. Elegance was never meant to be loud. or rigid, or exclusive. It's a byproduct of awareness applied gently. When fabric moves with you, when fit supports you, when details are cared for but not obsessed over, people respond differently. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you appear grounded. And grounding is rare. Social class, in its quietest form, isn't about where you belong. It's about how comfortably you inhabit yourself. Notice what shifts this week when you choose with intention, not to be seen, but to feel settled. Because elegance is not a performance, it's awareness, applied quietly.